Have you tweeted or friended anyone today? Well, if so, congratulations! You're a part of the social media revolution. The social media is basically the culture created within the Internet that allows anyone with an Internet connection to become an official expert on the topic of his or her choice. Whether you want to give others advice about how you think homes ought to be sold, or own prospecting techniques, or even the best ways to keep sellers safe when selling their home, you become the expert. Just as the Internet itself is a conduit for the best that mankind has to offer, the same conduit can demonstrate the worst of mankind as well. Let's take a look at some of the very positive things coming out of the social media revolution that have a direct correlation to the Utah Real Estate Division's mission. With the enormous volumes of information given to agents freely at Realtor.org and other locations, agents can disseminate to their buyers and sellers a rich amount of information. Information from their social media, such topics as powerful facts about home ownership, finding credit counselors, how NAR represents consumers' interests, and even why use a realtor. These powerful informational tools can be given freely to the public. One of the best things that NAR offers at Realtor.org is its ethics course to promote responsible business practices not only between agents but with the public as well. All those that get their real estate license are real estate agents, but not all real estate agents are realtors. To be a realtor, one must adhere to the association's ethics guidelines, which are also made a part of the CE guidelines. Social media has the power to disseminate powerful educational programs quickly and effectively. An entire 2-hour CE course can be placed online as a link on Facebook, on Twitter, or with a recommendation from the person who took the course. Think of how you found out about this particular course. More and more people are finding out about their education online. Having noted these things, it's also important to understand some thoughts about how to protect your identity on social media. Identity is one of the most important things that we take with us when we go online. It's also one of the easiest things for us to take for granted and for others to steal. The growth of social media in recent years has, for better or worse, blurred the line between virtual selves and our real selves to an extent that was unheard of just a decade ago. As a case in point, gone are the days when people commonly adopted usernames and email addresses like John21 or Rox381@rocketmail.com. Back then, you'd have to be crazy to reveal your actual name online. But collaborations such as wikis and initiatives such as Facebook's real name policy have made the online world a more open place to be. Alas, being open doesn't always mean being safe. As people get more accustomed to sharing their personal information in the cloud, the more tempting it becomes for thieves to try to steal their identities for blackmail or fraud. So how do you protect yourself in an increasing social cyberspace? Well, test the water before diving in. Before joining any social network, ask around about the reputation of the company behind it. Is it a fresh startup in need of beta testers, or a new offering from a well-established .com? It's a prudent rule of thumb, albeit a somewhat gross generalization, that the bigger the company, the more resources it has to protect its users' privacy. Also, take note of the kinds of people and the quality of the discussions going on in the community. Ask yourself if this is really a community that you want to share your thoughts in. If you have friends who are already part of that network, ask them about their experiences in using it. Do they like the community? Do they feel safe using the service? As with any decision, the best choice is an informed choice. Limit your online exposure. Even if you do decide to take the plunge, nobody said you have to go off the deep end. One of the best ways to protect your identity is to simply not divulge information unless it's really necessary. Sure, Facebook requires you to give your real name, but you are not required to divulge your exact address and other personal details. Most online services will let you know what information is required of you either through the fine print or their terms of use page or by pop-up warnings during the registration process. By limiting the information you share, you also lessen the risk to yourself should your account fall into the wrong hands for whatever reason. The less a thief knows about you, the less harm they can inflict. And even after the sign-up process, you can limit your online exposure even further by adjusting your account's privacy settings. Just go to your account settings and select which pieces of information to keep public and which to keep private. Online, as in real life, it always pays to be prudent with what you share. Use a strong, unique password. Entering a password clinches the sign-up process for a social network, and more often than not, your password will be the main line of defense against identity theft, so you better make it count. Make a password that's at least 10 characters long and contains a mix of as many keyboard characters as possible. And don't use any of your personal information like your birthday or nickname in making your password. In fact, it's recommended that your password shouldn't contain any recognizable words at all. The secret is to use an easy-to-remember system for making your password such that it's easy for you to remember but impossible for other people to guess. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. As mentioned earlier, a reputable company should be able to provide a modicum of protection for your private data. However, it's always a good idea to set up your own defenses should their security be breached for whatever reason. One of the best ways to do this is to use a different password for each of your online accounts. This way, even if one account is compromised, the password can't be used to log into your other accounts. Also, if possible, use a different email address for each account. You don't have to set up multiple email accounts for this. It's actually possible to use an alias to make what would essentially be a different email address that's still connected to your main email address. Using an email address alias helps manage notifications from your various social media accounts and will also protect your main account in the event of a breach. Here's more information on setting up an alias on Yahoo and Gmail. Or you can also try contacting your email provider's custom support line. Think before you click. Lastly, even in spite of all the previous precautions, thieves will still try to get at your personal information through phishing and other social means. One of the most common and still highly successful phishing schemes seems to come in the form of a fake message purportedly from your email provider or social network requesting you to provide your username and password lest your service be terminated. Such online scams have become increasingly sophisticated over the years, with thieves continually managed to passing themselves off as legitimate entities in an effort to steal your password and identity outright. But think about it for a moment. Why would the administrators of any social network need your password when they have full access to their own website in the first place? The rule of thumb is to never type in your username and password anywhere except into a legitimate login page, and even then, you should check to make sure it's a legitimate site. Don't just dive right in. Think before you click.